When you're faced with a difficult conversation, I know I used to get the sweaty palms. I used to not be able to sleep the night before. Oh, my stomach would hurt to the point that I thought I was getting sick with some of the conversations that I just didn't want to have. And underneath it all, there was 5 steps that if I would have just taken, I could have gone through those conversations so much faster and saved myself the agony that I was putting myself through. So today I want to give you those 5 steps that you can start taking today and implementing so that you don't have to feel all of that grossness that avoiding conflict can bring up. Now, before we get started, I created an entire template that will walk you through this process. So feel free to pause this video, go and print off that template, and then rejoin me, or you can watch this video all the way through and go and grab that template after. This is going to be the thing that you can use time and time again to get through and prep for these conversations. That is going to be the resource that you're going to want to use every time that you need to prepare for one of these difficult conversations. Your first step is going to be to define what the goal is of your conversation. I'll do a longer video about this, but for the people that grab the template, I just want to give you a really quick overview here. You are going to want to determine what your discussion goal is for the conflict. What do you want to happen? Not to convince somebody, none of that stuff. What do you need out of this conversation? Number 2 is going to be to collect all of the relevant information that you need in order to have the most productive conversation possible. I know for me, if I'm caught off guard and I know that I need information going in so that I can represent my point, it is so imperative that I get that together before I even engage in the conversation. So if there's any objective criteria that you need, if there's any paperwork, any of that stuff, make sure to collect that ahead of time. You can also do some reflecting on what the incident was and get that information so that you know going in what is relevant to you. Number 3 is clarifying your assumptions. We all do it. It is human nature that you're going to walk into any conversation, especially the difficult ones, making assumptions. Now, you're going to make assumptions about the other person. You're going to be making assumptions about the situation at hand. So within that, you're going to write down what your top 5 assumptions are that you're making. This might take you some more time because we are blind to our assumptions for the most part, unless we are really willing to sit down and get real with ourselves. So sit down and figure out what's the subjective stuff that's going on, the stuff that if somebody else was in the situation, they may not see the same way. Now, I'm not saying they won't see it the same way, but they may not. So what are the things that are going on behind the scenes that you think are happening but may not actually be? Number 4 is ask the questions for clarity. Now here I'm going to refer to my video on the cheap BFBNs. So go through each of those and figure out what is going on for you and the other person. Ask yourself those questions so you understand what you actually need and what's important to you out of this conversation and this difficult situation that you need to address, and for the other person. The benefit of looking at it for yourself and the other person is that not only do you understand more about yourself and what's important to get out at the end of this, you also stop making some of those assumptions about the other person, and you can begin to hunch at what they need from the conversation and why you may currently be in the situation that you are. The 5th step is going to be thinking about questions and writing them down so that you can go into the conversation already knowing some things that you need to gain clarity on, some things that you need to ask. When going into a conversation, 2 people can just get set in their positions, and that really doesn't help anyone in the situation. It doesn't help to resolve anything or move it forward. So while you are calm and clear and level-headed, write out questions that you need answered or that you would like to seek more information on. So far more than somebody just having to respond to you so that you can feed them a line and move them in your direction. The purpose of these questions is clarifying your assumptions and seeking out the information pieces that you may not already have. Now, in that template, I've already given you a few different suggestions, so feel free to go and grab that, or you can come up with questions that seek clarity on your own. Grab your free copy of that template. The link is in the description below. Go grab it and use it as many times as you need until you have this process down pat. Now, I didn't list this as a step because although it is probably the hardest thing, I think it should go without saying. You need to take action. You need to take action. You've done all of this prep work. You've done the hard stuff. And although the conversation itself may seem like the most daunting section of all of this, it's not. You've done the daunting part. You've done your back work. You understand more about yourself. Chances are you understand a little bit about them just by having to take a step back and looking at things from their perspective. So go and make that phone call. Set up a time for that discussion. Make sure to leave yourself adequate time to have that conversation and invite that person to start engaging with you, to work whatever it is out and get it off your plate. The sooner, the better. Do not leave this thing until you have so much anxiety and worry about it that you can't even handle it. Go and deal with it today. Drop a line in the comments below as soon as you've done this and just say, did it. Or reach out on social media and let us know so that we can celebrate you taking the step to resolving conflict. Remember to do something today to change your tomorrow. Until next time.